My name is Emily, and I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood where life moves at a steady pace. I'm the type of girl who prefers books over parties, who finds comfort in the pages of an astrophysics text rather than the chaos of high school drama. My room is my sanctuary, adorned with posters of galaxies and star charts. But I never imagined my world would be flipped upside down the moment my cousin Jason would enter my home and my life. He was supposed to visit us and live with us for a few days. He was always the charming one, the golden boy of our family, and I did not like that. Growing up, he was the center of attention, always surrounded by girls who hung on his every word. Now, as adults, I found myself both fascinated and terrified by his presence. The moment he stepped through the door, I felt a mix of emotions. There he was, taller, broader, his presence filling the hallway like a storm. I had always seen him as the charming boy from my childhood, but now he was a man, and something about him had changed. The air around him crackled with an unspoken energy that made my heart race and my skin tingle.
Hey, look who's finally grown up.
He teased, his voice smooth, making my stomach tighten with something I couldn't quite place. I tried to keep my cool, gripping the edges of my book of all things, trying to act as if nothing had changed. Very funny, Jason. I shot back, my voice betraying a slight tremor. I'm still the same girl you remember. He laughed, that laugh, rich and intoxicating. There was something about it that sent shivers down my spine. I tried to laugh it off, but my mind was spinning. What was he doing? Did he really see me as that awkward girl from our childhood? Or was there something else behind those words? I glanced at him again as he made his way into the living room, effortlessly charming my family, just like always. My mom giggled at his stories, hanging on to his every word. My dad nodded in approval. Jason was the center of attention as always, while I felt like a shadow in my own home, invisible. But every now and then, I caught him stealing glances in my direction. And each time, my heart skipped a beat. I could feel it every time we were in the same room, a current of electricity that left my thoughts scattered. So, when Jason casually asked my mom for cooking lessons one evening, I wasn't prepared for what came next.
Can't you teach me, Aunt Linda?
He asked, flashing that same mischievous smile he always used when he wanted something. His eyes flickered toward me for a split second, sending a warning shot straight to my heart. But Mom, busy with the stove, waved her hand dismissively.
Oh, your cousin is the better cook. Let her teach you.
Me? Alone in the kitchen with Jason? I felt a rush of heat flood my face. Me? I don't know if I'm the best teacher, I stammered, nervously tucking a strand of hair behind my ear, my palms already damp with anxiety.
Come on, it'll be fun.
Jason insisted, his smile widening. The way his eyes lingered on me made my heart pound faster than I liked to admit. There was no denying it now. Something had shifted between us. I swallowed hard, feeling a lump form in my throat, and reluctantly nodded. Okay, sure, I managed to say, though my heart hammered in my chest. What could possibly go wrong? The next day, the moment we stepped into the kitchen, the air became charged with something heavier than before. The sounds of pots clanking and the sizzle of oil on the stove seemed distant, as if we were in a bubble of our own, sealed off from the rest of the house. I could feel his presence behind me, close, too close. My hands trembled as I chopped vegetables, every brush of his arm sending a thrill down my spine.
You know, I always admired your cooking skills.
He said softly, his voice a low murmur right next to my ear. I froze, the knife halfway through a tomato. Really, I managed, trying to sound carefree. I thought you only cared about girls and gold chains. It was a weak attempt to break the tension, but my nerves were frayed, and I couldn't think straight. He chuckled, the sound warm and dangerously close.
There's more to me than that, you know.
I felt my breath hitch in my throat as his words hung in the air between us. The space between us seemed to shrink with every passing second, my heart thudding loudly in my ears. I bent down to check something in the oven, desperate for a moment to collect myself. But I was not expecting what happened next. I felt him rub himself once against my hips. He made it look as if it was a mistake, But when I stood back up, I was startled by how close he was. Too close. I gasped softly, my pulse quickening. His eyes locked onto mine, dark and unreadable. And then, his eyes were on my chest.
Wow, you've really grown up.
His voice low, almost seductive.
I thought you were a nerd. I never thought nerds could be this beautiful.
He said. I had never heard such words from anyone. The only thing I had been praised for was my grades. No one had ever seen me as a young, tender girl. Jason's words really were flattering to me. Even, they were more than just words. I could feel a rush of emotions inside me. Before I could even process what was happening, his lips were on mine. The kiss was soft but full of intent, sending jolts of electricity through my entire body. Shock and disbelief paralyzed me. This is wrong, my mind screamed, but my body betrayed me, frozen in place as his hands found their way to my waist, pulling me closer. What are you doing? I gasped when I finally found my voice, my heart racing wildly.
Just enjoying the moment.
He whispered, his breath warm against my skin as he leaned in to kiss me again. Panic rushed through me, but something else did too. Something that left me breathless and confused. I felt myself melting into him, lost in the intensity of the moment, the heat between us undeniable. For a brief, fleeting second, it felt exciting. But then, reality crashed down like a tidal wave. This is my cousin, a playboy who precisely knew how to be around girls and make them feel special while getting pleasure from them. I pushed him away, my breath ragged as I struggled to regain my composure. This is not right, I stammered, taking a step back, trying to put distance between us, though my body still burned where he had touched me. The events of that day played on a loop in my mind, refusing to let me rest. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the silence of the night amplifying the chaos inside my head. I could still feel the warmth of Jason's kiss lingering on my lips, like a ghostly touch that wouldn't leave me alone. A soft knock on my door pulled me from my thoughts. My heart skipped a beat as I sat up, the hair on the back of my neck standing on end. Who else could it be? It had to be him.
Hey, can I come in?
Jason's voice floated through the door, low and uncertain, a strange contrast to the confident tone he usually carried. I hesitated, my fingers clutching the edge of my blanket.
What do you want?
I asked, trying to sound annoyed, trying to keep my voice steady. But there was a shiver there, one he probably noticed.
I'm scared.
He admitted, his voice soft, almost vulnerable. I allowed him to come into my room and immediately realized he had been scared of darkness and loneliness since childhood. Perhaps because he was in our home, he was more scared to sleep alone. But he had grown up. He was an adult. How could he be scared now?
Can I stay for a bit? I don't want to be alone.
He said.
And please don't tell anyone I'm still scared. It's embarrassing for me.
I could not believe how he had changed. He was no longer the macho, bravado boy who had no vulnerabilities. I stared at him, torn between skepticism and curiosity. What game was he playing now? But something about the way he looked at me, the softness in his gaze, made me step aside. Fine. More to myself than him, but don't get any ideas. My heart hammered against my chest as he stepped into my room. He lay down beside me, and the silence that followed was thick. I tried to focus on the ceiling, to ignore the warmth radiating from his body, but it was impossible. Every shift, every breath he took felt like a brush of electricity against my skin.
Can I tell you something?
He whispered after what felt like an eternity. He was closer now, his voice sending a shiver down my spine. What? I asked, my voice betraying the calmness I tried so hard to maintain.
I've thought about you.
His words were slow and deliberate, each one sending a pulse of heat through my body.
A lot. More than I should.
My breath hitched. My mind scrambled to process what he was saying. You can't be serious, I replied.
I am.
He insisted, his face inches from mine now, his breath warm on my cheek.
I know it's messed up, but I can't help it. I've wanted you for a long time.
I turn my back to him, trying to create some space, trying to block out the chaos brewing inside me. But the tension only grew, an unbearable weight pressing down on us. The darkness in the room felt like it was closing in, and all I could hear was the sound of his steady breathing, each breath like a countdown to something inevitable. Suddenly, I felt his hand, soft and hesitant, brush against my hips, a gentle caress. I shivered, my body reacting before my mind could catch up. "Jason, stop," I gasped, sitting up in bed, my heart pounding out of control. He reached for me, pulling me back down, his grip firm, but not forceful.
Please.
He murmured, his voice low, almost pleading.
I love you. Don't you feel anything for me?
I was shocked. Jason loved me? Impossible. This boy could never love someone. He only knew how to manipulate girls. But what if he really had seen something in me? Of course, I was not like the other girls he dated. But before I could say anything, his lips were on mine again. He had melted my resistance with this. The kiss was deep, igniting something in me that I had never felt before. A raw desire that surged through my veins like fire. I didn't pull away. Instead, I leaned into him, my body betraying every rational thought. The world outside ceased to exist. There was only him, his hands moving over me, his touch setting my skin ablaze.
See?
He whispered against my lips, his voice barely a breath.
It's not so bad, is it? And I know you feel the same about me.
I wanted to scream that it was wrong, that we couldn't, but I was lost, swept up in a wave of emotions too powerful to fight. His hands explored my body with a confidence that sent shivers down my spine, and I felt myself opening up, giving in to the moment. But just as quickly as it began, reality hit me like a cold wave crashing over my body. This was Jason, my cousin, my blood, my family. I pushed him away, panic and guilt flooding my senses. "This is wrong, Jason," I gasped, scrambling to put distance between us. "We can't do this." He sat up, confusion flashing across his face.
Why not?
He asked, his voice steady but tinged with frustration.
We're both adults. We can have fun.
"Fun?" I repeated, my voice trembling with emotion. "Is that all this is to you? Fun?" My chest tightened as the weight of his words sank in. "I'm not some game for you to play."
No, I love you, I told you.
He said, but I did not reply. He stared at me for a long moment, a wound flashing in his eyes. He hesitated as if weighing his next move, then scoffed lightly.
Fine, but you're missing out.
His words stung more than I expected, cutting deeper than I cared to admit. I watched as he left the room, my heart heavy with conflicting emotions, desire, guilt, shame, and something else I couldn't quite place. The days that followed were a storm of confusion and inner turmoil. I felt like I was walking in a fog, the weight of my decisions pressing down on me like a heavy blanket. I tried to push Jason out of my mind, but his presence lingered like a shadow, haunting me with every step I took. One evening, I found him lounging on the couch, casually scrolling through his phone. He looked up when I entered the room, his eyes narrowing slightly.
You okay?
He asked, his voice casual, as if we hadn't just crossed a line we could never uncross. "I'm fine," I lied, forcing a smile, though my chest felt tight with the weight of everything unsaid.
Come on, don't be like that.
He said, his tone softer now.
I didn't mean to upset you.
"Maybe you should think about how your actions affect people," I shot back, my voice sharper than I intended, but I couldn't help it. The frustration, the confusion, it all bubbled to the surface in that moment. He sighed, running a hand through his hair.
I just thought we had something special. Didn't you feel it?
"That was just a moment, Jason," I said, my voice rising with the flood of emotions I had been holding back. "You have tens of girls, and I'm not one of them." The words came out harsher than I intended, but they needed to be said. He looked at me for a long time, his expression unreadable.
Maybe you're not.
He finally said, his voice quieter now.
But I thought I could show you something more.
What does that even mean? I asked, crossing my arms, trying to put up a wall between us. He hesitated, then shook his head, his frustration returning.
Just forget it. I thought you'd be different.
He murmured, standing up and walking past me. I watched him leave, his words hanging heavy in the air. My mind was a mess of feelings of anger, hurt, and attraction. I couldn't deny the pull I felt towards him, but I knew I deserved more than to be some fleeting pleasure in his chaotic life. I felt comforted when I heard Jason would be going in a week. If there were any feelings, they would end and things would be normal, or so I supposed. 2 days passed like a wind, and we did not see each other. I was often in my room, and when I came to sit in the living room, Jason would avoid me and act as if he had to go out. It felt odd how a boy like him had been affected so much. One night, as I was sitting in my room, he knocked at the door.
Can I come in? If you don't want to, you can simply say no, Emily. I won't mind.
He said. I could not believe how he was so humble. I felt I had been hard on him, so I allowed him to come. He came to me and said, without seeing me in my eyes,
I wanted to apologize sincerely. What I did was wrong. I felt you felt the same way and I took a step. I am very sorry for that.
He was truly ashamed. He was being honest. So I felt comfortable asking, do you really feel for me? Do you really love me? He instantly raised his gaze, seeing me. When his eyes met mine, the answer came so quickly, so confidently.
Yes.
He said, and for a moment, I believed him. Completely. He wasn't just the flirtatious boy I'd grown up with, the one who left a path of broken hearts wherever he went. He was standing there, vulnerable, almost humble. Before I could overthink it, he was there, wrapping his arms around me in a way that felt so protective, so right.
Can I kiss you?
He asked, his breath warm against my skin. I didn't even hesitate. I nodded, and the next thing I knew, his lips were on mine. It was gentle at first, almost hesitant, but it didn't take long for the kiss to deepen. The way his hands held me, the way his body pressed against mine, it was like a dam breaking inside me. Before I knew it, we were on the bed, tangled together. His hands were everywhere, and for the first time, I didn't hold back. I let myself get lost in the moment, in him. His touch sent shivers through me, every movement making my body respond in ways I hadn't expected. The thrill of it was intoxicating, overwhelming, and I couldn't believe I was letting this happen. But at the same time, I didn't want it to stop. I let him guide me, his hands exploring me, with a tenderness that contradicted everything I thought I knew about him. He got up, kissing me on my entire body and then holding my legs. He kissed them and saw me to get the nod, which I did. Soon I could feel him, pleasing me. I had never experienced such ecstasy. It was like a dream, and I was seeing him making that dream. When this was over, we both were breathless, covered in sweat. Days passed after that night, and the memory of it stayed with me, making me smile when I thought about it. But then, the silence started. Jason had left to go back home, and I hadn't heard a word from him. At first, I tried to brush it off. He was busy, I told myself. He would call. But as the days stretched on, my anxiety grew. I found myself checking my phone constantly, waiting for a message, a call, or anything. And when I couldn't take it anymore, I called him. The phone rang for what felt like an eternity before he picked up.
Hey, Emily?
He said, his voice flat, lacking the warmth I had expected. Jason, I started, trying to keep my voice steady, though my heart was pounding. Why haven't you called? I've been waiting to hear from you. There was a long pause on the other end, and when he finally spoke, his voice was quieter, almost sad.
Emily, I didn't call because I didn't know what to say.
My stomach dropped. What do you mean? We had something, didn't we? That night. He sighed, and I could hear the hesitation in his voice.
That night was fun. But Emily, I never loved you.
His words hit me like a punch to the gut. What? I whispered, barely able to process what he was saying.
I never meant to hurt you.
He continued, and I could hear the guilt in his voice, but it didn't make it any easier to hear.
But it wasn't real for me. It was just a good time.
Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes, my chest tightening as his words sank in. So, what? I was just another girl to you? My voice shook, but I couldn't stop the flood of emotions pouring out of me. I trusted you, Jason,
I know.
he said, and his voice was heavy with regret.
I shouldn't have let it go that far, but there was a bet.
My heart stopped. A bet?
Yeah.
He admitted, his voice small, almost ashamed.
I made a bet with a friend that I could, be with you. I didn't think it would go this far, and I'm sorry.
I can't believe you, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. I thought you cared,
I didn't mean for it to get this bad.
he said, but his words felt hollow, meaningless. I hung up the phone, my heart shattered into a million pieces. I had trusted him, given him everything, and he had used me. The betrayal cut deeper than I ever thought possible. The worst part was that I had believed him. I had let myself hope, let myself fall for him. But in the end, it was all just a game to him, and I was the one left picking up the pieces. I got punished. This is what happens when you trust someone whom you already know is a playboy. But still, you give your heart, and he breaks it into pieces.